Great. So my name is Emma Donovan, and I'm the marketing manager here in UCD College of Social Sciences and Law. And we're delighted this evening to be joined by academics in the School of Education, the School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics, and the School of Irish, Celtic Studies and Folklore. So tonight's session, we are going to have an introduction from Associate Professor William Kinsella, who is the Head of School of Education. We're then going to have a presentation from Dr. Deirdre McGillicuddy, who is the director of this new program launched by UCD. And then we are going to hear from Professor Maiveen Ní Urdáil, who's from the School of Irish, Celtic Studies and Folklore, taking us through the Gaeilge on this new course. And then finally, we're going to hear from Associate Professor Siofra Pearce, who is the head of school from the School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics. To now hand over to Associate Professor William Kinsella from the School of Education. Welcome, Billy.
Thank you, Emma. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar this evening. We are delighted that you are interested in teaching as a career, and we strongly encourage you to pursue that interest, as it is a most rewarding and self-fulfilling career in which you get the opportunity to enhance the lives of young people. We invite you to prepare for that career at UCD, and we are delighted to have the opportunity to inform you about an exciting new teacher education program in which you can qualify as a post-primary teacher of Gaeilge and our modern languages within 4 years. At UCD, you will be instructed by national and international experts in the field of education. You will gain supervised experience of teaching in schools. You will be very well supported in your studies, and you will enjoy world-class campus facilities. Furthermore, this program involves periods of study in the Gaeltacht and/or internationally as appropriate to the languages you are studying. UCD has an outstanding reputation in teacher education. UCD graduates are in high demand in schools, as they are very well prepared to teach in the classrooms of today, and they consistently make a great contribution to schools and to the broader education system. This program has been established to address a shortage of Irish and modern language teachers in the Irish education system. And I will now hand you over to my colleague, Dr. Deirdre McGillicuddy, who will provide more details on this innovative new program. Thank you, Deirdre.
Míle maith Billy, fáilte romh go léir gun isteach gun webinar seo. We're absolutely delighted to have you here, and thank you for making time this evening to come and hear about our program. My name is Dr. Deirdre McGillicuddy, and I am the director of the new BEd Education in Gaeilge and our Modern Languages program. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through the program to give you some information about what that program looks like, and to give you some insights into your career options around the program, and also to introduce you to some of my colleagues that we've been working very hard together to put this program together. We're very excited. It's a new and innovative program across the country, and we're really excited to have it running from next year. One of my favorite quotes about education comes from the Brazilian philosopher and educationist Paulo Freire. And he says that education does not actually change the world. Education changes people, and it is in fact people who go on then to change the world. And what a privileged position to be in education, to contribute to people and the development of people who then go on to change the world around them. So I'm going to speak a little bit about that. And our BEd Education with Gaeilge and Modern Languages program, our code for it through the CAO is DN760. So that's maybe something to note for yourselves for your CAO application form. So I suppose just to think about the program and some of the questions that I have for you listening in this evening is, are you interested in languages? And if you're here, you obviously are, and you have an interest maybe in modern languages, maybe you have an interest in Gaeilge, maybe you have an interest in both. Are you curious about teaching as a career? Is it something that you're considering? Is there somebody who you've come across in your experience in education who has perhaps influenced you or shaped you in a way to think about and consider education as a career? Are you passionate about making a difference in young people's lives? And this innovative program prepares high quality language teachers to go out into the education system, to inspire and to lead across the Irish education system. So I think if you have those interests, this is definitely the program for you. And so let me take you through the different specifics around the program itself. The first, I suppose, innovative piece of this program is that it is a collaboration between three amazing schools in UCD. The first is ourselves in the UCD School of Education, our colleagues in the UCD School of Irish, Celtic Studies and Folklore, and then our colleagues in the UCD School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics. And you'll hear from all three schools this evening. Another unique aspect to this program is that you are finished your program after 4 years and you're qualified to go out and be a post-primary school teacher. And that is really unique within the Irish education system through concurrent programs. Typically in the past, you would have to study your degree and then return and do a PME or professional master in education. And so this program will actually prepare you within 4 years to go out and work in schools. There are 3 strands to the program, and you can choose what you would like to do. So you choose 2 languages, and those languages can be from modern languages, they can be a modern language and Gaeilge alone, or they can be Gaeilge on its own. So the 3 strands are BEd in Education, Gaeilge, and 1 modern language. So you can choose from French, Spanish, German, or Italian. The second strand is you can choose between education and 2 modern languages. So you could choose to study 2 languages from French, Spanish, German, or Italian. And we'll speak a little bit about those later on. And then the third strand is if you would like to just study Gaeilge and education alone. So they're the 3 options around the program that you can choose from. So I'd like you to take you on a journey, a virtual journey through the degree program and what it looks like year on year. So when you come into first year in UCD, you decide on the 2 languages that you would like to study. And that again can be your 2 modern languages, it can be 1 modern language and Gaeilge, or you might just decide I'd like to study Gaeilge alone. You will then also engage in education modules, and here are the list of the modules that you'll actually be taking in your first year. You'll be exploring Irish childhood, what that looks like, and taking a sociological lens to that, trying to understand what childhood is and how that manifests in schools. Be having a look at the socio-historic perspectives on education. So, you know, how have we a system as we have it now? What does that look like? And how is that being influenced from past perspectives? And also taking a sociological lens looking at that. We're very passionate about sustainability and the SDGs within the program. So we have a module specifically looking at education for a sustainable future. We have a module that specifically looks at creative pedagogy and well-being. And this is an innovative module looking at different ways of approaching how we engage in learning in the classroom. And also, I think it's really important that we focus on well-being, your well-being as a student, but also how to nurture the well-being of students that you might go on and teach during your career as a teacher. And of course, we want to prepare you to teach. And part of that is learning communication skills and learning about language pedagogy. So how do you actually teach languages? And we'll be building your skills in how to teach languages as you go through the program. A really unique aspect to this program as well is that placement in your first year will actually happen in a primary school context. And the reason for that is to really give you a feel for the continuum of education. And I suppose sometimes we forget that the children and the young people come from primary into post-primary, and it's really important to understand that transition and to understand where the students come from when they come into the first and the second year of a post-primary school. So your placement will happen at primary level in the first year. In the second year of the program, you continue to build your language proficiency in the languages that you have chosen. And then you go on to study some more of our education modules, which include Education for Democracy, which is a module specifically looking at philosophy of education. We are extremely passionate in the School of Education around inclusive education, and we always put particular emphasis on the importance of including all learners in the classroom. And of course, a really important part of that is equipping you with the skills to be able to do that. So through our module, Inclusive Education for Learners with Additional Learner Needs, we will be exploring, strategies and approaches and understandings around inclusive education and how to ensure you take an inclusive approach in your teaching when you go out and teach in the system. And then the third module will be looking at curriculum assessment and language pedagogy. Of course, you need to understand the curriculum to be able to teach the curriculum. So this module specifically looks at that. It looks at modes of assessment and how to assess within your teaching, and then specifically looking at language pedagogy, again, building your skills and capacities in how to teach languages, which you will do as a teacher and a practitioner out in schools. In the second year of our program, your placement will be undertaken at post-primary level, and you'll be engaging in co-teaching activities during that placement. So what does year 3 of the program look like? When we were designing this program, we were especially passionate about the importance of providing you as a student an opportunity to engage in studying abroad or in the Gaeilge. A key part of initial teacher education is ensuring that you meet the requirements for the Teaching Council, and they have set specific requirements around the time that you must spend either learning Gaeilge, studying Gaeilge, or engaging in placement in your target language country, learning the language. So we have built this into our program. And again, this is very unique across the Irish education system and the programs available in the country at the moment. So as part of year 3, if you're studying Gaeilge, you will spend trimester 1 in the Gaeltacht ag Feilm na Gaeilge. If you're studying modern language, you will then in trimester 2 engage in Erasmus in your modern language 1. And then if you are studying 2 modern languages, we will actually place you in 2 countries during trimester 2 and trimester 3, so into the summer trimester as well, so that you get to spend time learning both languages in the target language countries. As part of year 3 as well, you'll engage with some online learning. And again, this is to build your capacity in learning to teach online and learning to engage online as well, and which I think is going to be a really key aspect of what happens in the Irish education system going forward. And the 2 modules that you're going to undertake are, the first is research methods. And this is a really important module because it prepares you with the skills that you'll need to undertake your research project, which you'll be doing in year 4 of the program, your capstone project. So this module specifically equips you with the skills to be able to conduct some research and explore a topic in the 4th year of your program. And then the second module is around digital technologies and how to use digital technologies in teaching and learning, particularly focusing again on that piece of how to use digital technology when you're teaching languages in the classroom. And finally, then year 4 of the program, again, you'll be engaging in your language learning. You as language learner is a really important aspect of the program. And so you'll be finishing some of your modules around your language piece. And then you'll also engage in our education modules, which include professional placement and portfolio and methods. And then you'll have your research project to do as well. I think it's really important as well in year 4 that you know that you'll be engaging in a really intensive school placement over the 2 trimesters during year 4. So it'll be really intensive school placement. You'll really get in there and really get a feel for schools. And some of the activities that we'll have will ensure that you really get a holistic overview of, you know, the inner workings of a school, not just what happens in a classroom. And that placement will be undertaken in a post-primary school setting and really preparing you to go out and be a teacher after the 4 year of the program. It's really important for me to say this evening that our program has been accredited by the Irish Teaching Council. And what does that mean? It means that once you fulfill all elements of the program, you will be eligible to apply for registration as a post-primary school teacher. And that's really important because if you can't register with the Irish Teaching Council, then you can't go out and teach in Irish schools. So it's really important that we have that accreditation as part of our program. I'd also like to share with you the subject entry requirements. And so in your leaving certificate, in order to come on to the program, you need an O6 or a H7 in English, Irish, and a 3rd language, and then 3 other recognized subjects. We also have some really important recommendations around the languages piece. And what we're really strongly recommending is that if you are studying Gaeilge and modern languages in education, that you have at least a grade H5 in Gaeilge and a grade H4 in the modern language studied to leaving certificate or equivalent. If you're studying the BEd Education and modern languages, you need to have at least a grade H4 in 1 or more modern language studied to the leaving certificate. 2 languages will be studied as part of this degree option, and both can be taken at non-beginners level, or 1 subject can be taken at beginners level, and we'll talk a little bit about that shortly for you as well, to give you a feel for that. And then finally, with the BEd and Gaeilge strand, we strongly recommend that you come in with at least a grade H5 in Gaeilge in the leaving certificate or equivalent. Okay. So I wanted to, I suppose, to give you a sense and a feel for some of the work that we do in the School of Education, and also to say that our colleagues in the School of Irish Celtic Studies and Folklore and the School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics have projects that they engage with as well. I wanted to share some of the outreach projects, which are projects that we do with our schools, and to give you a feel for some of the opportunities that you may be able to engage in as part of your journey through our program. And you can see here we have a few different projects that are currently being undertaken, and some that have just completed and are being revised and reviewed as well. So we're very, again, passionate about educational equality across our system, and our Power to Progress team are looking at how to I suppose, ensure that we have equity of access to education. So this project is working with 21 DESH schools across the country in supporting students to meet and reach their full academic potential. CyberWise is a project that's looking at the development of a short course on cybersecurity, which is being led by our colleague in the School of Education as well. And then Peggy's Adventures was actually a book written which brings together themes of social justice and science. And that book was actually circulated to all primary schools across the country. And again, students were involved in that as well. We also oversee the PDST Young Economist of the Year. Our colleague, Dr. Rachel Farrell, leads that, and we wanted to show that to you as well. And we're also, again, very passionate about girls in STEM and ensuring that women are represented in the fields of STEM, and the project, this project is specifically targeting that. And then to alert you to one of our really important projects around increasing access to higher education. Again, going back to our passion for equality in education, we feel it's really important that we diversify the teaching profession, and that people who may not necessarily have had the opportunity in the past to become a teacher actually do have that opportunity and are given that opportunity. So our PATH project is actually looking at what the barriers are preventing people from coming into the teaching profession, identifying those challenges and trying to address them to ensure that we have access into teaching for everybody, coming from alternative pathways, such as, for example, debt or coming from further education. So if you're looking for further information about our School of Education, you can see there we have our website. And if you go to that website, you'll actually find information under the undergraduate tab on the BEd program. So you'll find that there. You can see we have some contact details there that you can reach out and ask any questions that you might have. And we also have there our website for social sciences. And again, you'll find further information about our program up on our social sciences website. And there's a contact email address there for you as well. And what I'd like to do now, if that's okay, is I'm going to introduce my colleague from the School of Irish Celtic Studies and Folklore. And she's actually sent a video, and her name is Professor Maeve Erdal. So I'm going to share her video now, and she's going to give you an insight into some of the elements to the studying of Irish as part of you as language learner. I suppose if you think about the 3 blocks of our program, the first block is about you as language learner and you learning a language. The second is around you learning about how to teach. And then the third is about you actually engaging in placement. And I think they're the 3 really core blocks of the program. So I suppose so far I've spoken to you about you learning to become a teacher and school placement. So this next piece of our webinar is looking at you as language learner. So I'm going to share this video now by Professor Maeve Erdal, and hopefully you'll be able to hear her speak.
Kiad fáileoh Gaeilge a cháirde is mise Maeve Erdal agus táim cheann an nóghéileann an sa in UCD. Iarach cúpla focail rá Marielle chéamh na Gaeilge laistigh den game nó se atá cuairte le chéile a gcuine UCD céim san na dachas le Gaeilge agus go dain céim san na dachas le Gaeilge agus teanga eile má raibh tú sin. Mar sin tá rá unchormas mailet ag an nóghéileann mar chuid den glár áirithe seo. Tá an clár féin dírithe cuasaí meánscoíochta go bunúsach agus maidir le taobh na Gaeilge a cháirde sé tá gceist go bunúsach nuair a thugad tú isteach ná go mbeidh tú istigh i léachtaí agus a ranganna le micléin eile atá a lé le BA nó le céimeanna eile mar shampla céim le Gaeilge le dlí mar sin deis anna easta sé seo dat aithne chuir roiine eile atá i mbun stadéis chéimeanna eile laistigh de UCD. Ach maidir leis an géim san na dachas le Gaeilge agus an na dachas le Gaeilge agus teangacha eile, tas nó túmach a sachbáide a ddíú chúsaí a bhaineann le crunas na Gaeilge. Mar sin nuair a thugad tú isteach sa chéad bliain be tú clé le teanga na Gaeilge héan, agus sé tá geistin son go bunúsach ná go mbeidh rang gramadí go gach seachtain agus go mbeidh rang go sa teangalan. In sarang gramadí ní nach húna befra díú chrunas chrín scrí na Gaeilge, agus in sarang teangalan befra díú chúsaí fuime, agus chúsaí crunis ó héamh na caintige. Mar sin ráhéisiúna bheith gestan son. Agus an son tá cuasaí eile a bheith díú ar chusaí litríochta tá mar hapla ceanna bháin a bhainein le litríocht na Gaeilge agus na deadam an Gaeilge tá caiint ar an Gaeilge ón dréimhse 1910 an áil go dtí an lá tainú bhán. Agus tá modúla bháin a bheith le déanamh agat ina méid réimsí agsúla leistigh den spectrum anna lehan sin a dhéanamh agat mar chuid den gúsa. Mar sin túra sé sin gan áras deiste chuma chun bhuala le níos mó le duine amháin sé sin go gudú aithne níos mó ná bail fórne amháin atá léile sin ó Gaeilge istigh in UCD. Mar sin an rud eile is dóla tá táchtach mar réal ar an géim áirithe seo ná nuair a thugadh tú go dtí bliana 3 trimestre héan. Beidh deisian san agat chun an trimestre sin ar fad a chahabh sa Gaeltacht. Sé sin go méid cúsa Gaeltachta ar bun agat. Tugad míad más mai leat Erasmus Gaeltachta ar sin. San áit go méid daoine eile sa chósa atá déanamh mar hampla na Frankise nó na Germáise go raibh siad son go dtí na tíortha sin. Beidh na daoine atá beidh aon duine atá lé leis an Nua-Gaeilge beidh deise có téimhse ó Mileán sé sin trimestre ó Mileán a chahabh sa Gaeltacht. Agus sé tá gestan son gan dat ná chun bar eile fós fás a chur skillan na teangan agus scrífa agus tírófa agus speisialta chumá hinnéthe sanúla de cultúr agus de rúchas na Gaeltachta. Mar sin rud an nuálach sehéise atá ar na beráinigin, agus tá míid súil go mór le bheith ranfáirteach mar irim insa chéim nuasa céim sanna dachas le Gaeilge. Guim gach rathiribh amachchan seo agus is féidir le gan éon áras teangáilt dhéanamh linn má tá aon cheistin a deise a gcuibh. Mar sin idir seo go sin a cháirde go déise slán.
And Ishgur Mila Mahagot Maveen. So that's just really to give you an insight into what the language learning when it comes to Gaeilge will look like. I'd like to introduce you now to our colleague in the School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics, indeed the head of school, Associate Professor Schaefer Pierce. Schaefer, I'm going to hand over to you now to give a description around the languages piece.
Thanks so much, Deirdre, and thanks, William, and everybody here tonight. And just to follow on what Maveen said in Irish, I mean, just to follow on from that, as Dee said, I'm the head of the School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics. So what does that mean in UCD? In fact, it means that you may decide to do an awful lot of Irish in this degree. In fact, you may only do Irish in this degree. But you may not. You may actually be somebody who maybe is more comfortable with modern languages or maybe wants to mix the two. So you've probably picked up from Dee at the moment from Deirdre that in fact you have 3 blocks of language options in this degree. So you could just be doing the Irish, you could be doing Irish and a modern language, or you could be doing just modern languages with your education and also then the placements. So I know we're giving you an awful lot of options tonight, but if you bear with me, you'll get the hang of the modern languages side of things, and we're here to answer questions afterwards as well. So we in modern languages in UCD are absolutely thrilled to be part of this degree. When it was suggested first, we said to ourselves, well, this is a no-brainer because so many of our students over the years have gone into education, and it's not that we only produce educators or teachers or lecturers or anything, but it is a huge interest of a lot of our students. And as Deirdre said, it's something that a lot of people come back to, maybe in midlife or maybe a few years after they've qualified. So we are delighted to be a part of this degree, and we're very excited to see it launch in September next at UCD. I mentioned that our school is called basically Languages, Cultures and Linguistics. The languages that we offer to degree level and as part of this degree are 4 in particular, so French, German, Italian, Spanish. Of those 4, you could actually take 2 of them from complete beginners. So we offer German, Italian and Spanish to complete beginners coming in. And you may think, oh my goodness, how could I come into UCD with no Italian and come out with a degree in it? Well, actually, we specialize in producing people who do that all the time. So you will be in with students, as Maiveen said, you will be mixed in some classes with students who are doing a BA or a BA in modern languages or other degrees, along with you, the students of education, and you'll all be learning language together. So just to note that the one exception here is French, because we don't actually offer French at beginners level in our school, simply because traditionally, as you'll know, so many people studied French in school over the years that it wasn't necessary up till now to teach French at beginners level. That may change in the future, but for now, that's what we offer. There is a fifth little contribution that I won't mention tonight, but you never know, when you come in September, you might get a little surprise that there may be another option of a Portuguese language, but we can't talk about that yet because it's not on the table. So for tonight, we'll just look at French, which is non-beginners level, German, beginners or non-beginners, Italian, beginners or non-beginners, and Spanish, complete beginners or people who have already studied Spanish to leaving cert level. May I have the next slide, please, Deirdre, when you're ready? Thank you. So I'm now going to talk to, remember I said to you there were two options. So you can do either two of our languages in our school, or you can do one of our languages and Irish, or of course you could just do Irish. So we're going to start with the two languages, the two modern languages. And I just want to give you a little overview of what our degree will look like, because remember, you will be taking your main education core modules. And then you'll also, if you choose this option, you'll be taking two of our languages. And we've called them language 1 and 2, just for the purposes of convenience tonight. We won't name them. You may, in first year, as you can see, as well as doing your education modules, you will take essentially language modules. So where you have two languages, you'll be taking just language modules in one language. And in the other language, let's call it language 1 here, in first year, you get to take what's also called a cultural module. Now, you may wonder what that is, but when you come to study a modern language in university, you don't just come in and order coffee for 4 years. As you can imagine, we not only get students to work really on their accuracy, and if you're starting a beginner's language, we obviously accelerate your learning, so you focus in on the grammar, the pronunciation, all the things that go with language learning. But we also embed that language in the culture of the country where the languages are spoken. So what we call a cultural module, you might be reading poems in French, you might be looking at Italian films. Even from first year, it's possible to do these things. Sometimes we do it obviously bilingually at the start, but by the time you get to fourth year, you'll be well able to do it just in the target language. So that's what we call a cultural module. And going on to year 2, we switch the emphasis. So you'll do a little bit less of language 1, and you'll add on credits in language 2, whatever that is for you. So again, you'll be doing intensive language learning, but you'll also have a cultural module. Now, year 3 is actually quite exciting for language learners, because at that stage, let's say you've maybe taken 2 beginners languages on, you will be up to a certain standard where you'll actually be really comfortable in both languages by year 3. And I know you don't believe me now, but we see it all the time. And the great thing in year 3 is that you will now have a little bit of time to actually take all sorts of modules, and these would be cultural, maybe literary, maybe film, maybe politics, maybe current affairs, all through the foreign language. So you could be learning about the Italian film industry, or you might be learning about French modern politics, or you might be learning about German history, or you might be reading Spanish novels. Okay, so again, there's a wide range of choices in what we would call cultural modules, and you get to take 6 of those in year 3. I wish I could do that year myself. And that's in trimester 1. Now, our years in UCD divide into 3 trimesters. So trimester 1 would be before Christmas. After Christmas, you're into trimester 2, and that's what Deirdre called the Erasmus. Now, you probably heard the Erasmus Gaeilge, which was what Maureen was talking about in Ireland, or in Irish, well, we have Erasmus Harlar, so you go abroad. And that is such an exciting moment. Imagine yourself coming into UCD and you're taking, let's say, beginner's Italian. And after 2.5 years of studying it, you actually get to go abroad and go to a university abroad where you learn in Italian about Italian things. It's a fabulous moment. You can do that across all of our language areas. So you can go to Italian universities, Spanish universities if you're doing Spanish, German, Austrian, or also Swiss universities if you're doing German, and obviously French or Canadian universities, or indeed Belgium if you're doing French. So we have all these partners that I can talk about later on in these Erasmus countries. And that experience, what we call an Erasmus term abroad, is what we call also complete immersion. So you're literally learning and speaking the language in the target country. You're in a university where everybody around you is also speaking the foreign language. And it's amazing how that accelerates your learning. It's a really exciting moment and a fabulous experience. Now, if you're doing this particular option of 2 modern languages, it's actually even more exciting for you because you will get to go to your other target. So let's say Italian was your first language number 1 and you spend a term there doing 15 credits in that university in Italy. We'll then swivel you, let's say Spanish is your second subject. We'll then transport you across Europe into a Spanish-speaking country. And that is where you will do, again, an immersion experience in the second language. So why do we do this? The idea is that you use year 3 to really consolidate your learning, bring up your language learning, be familiar with, areas where other people around you are completely fluent and it's their native tongue, so that you will then bring that into the classroom and be able to share that experience with your students who may never have gone abroad. People in secondary school often haven't, and you'll be able to explain to them the importance of how this improves and helps language learning and makes it easier. And then finally, once your amazing year 3 is over, then you're coming into amazing year 4, which Deirdre already talked about because it's very amazing in educational terms. In languages terms, it's going to be a quieter year for you. You'll already have, we hope, supreme level of language, and you'll come back and you'll do intense language learning just at final year level. So very focused in on translation, on high level grammar work, on accuracy and on perfection. So that's our 4th year specialism. And that is what the language will look like on this course structure. So I emphasize, I've only talked now about the 2 languages. We'll go to the next slide, please, Deirdre. And this is where you will be doing 1 language with Gaeilge. Now, you already heard Maureen talking earlier on about what you would do with Gaeilge Gohomlon on its own, or Gaeilge with a modern language. We've popped in Gaeilge. You can see it on the slides there. You can see where you'll be doing your credits in Gaeilge. And the great thing here is that you'll have 1 modern language. So you might say, do I have to do a language I know already? The answer is no. Say you're doing French in school and you want to come in and do French in college, of course you can. But you may be doing Spanish in school and you might decide, well, actually, I'd love to do Italian and I'd love to teach Italian, or I'd love to teach German in school. You can do that. So you can come in with your Gaeilge and come in with, take up a language. And in your first year there, you'll be concentrating on language and you'll have 1 cultural module. So again, probably little poems or short stories in the first year, depending on what or films if it's a brand new language area. Then in year 2, similarly, you'll have your 15 credits. Now, year 3 gets very exciting for you, because not only do you get to spend the whole of trimester 1 in the Gaeilge, which is phenomenal, but you also then get to go on Erasmus in a non-Irish speaking destination. So for example, let's say you've come in and you've taken up Spanish, we will send you off to some Spanish university for your 15 credits placement, and you'll get to spend the whole of trimester 2 there. And while there, you will be taking, literally, it's complete immersion. You'll be taking hopefully a language module, but also cultural modules, and making your foreign language, so your modern language, not your Irish at this point, bringing it up to a much higher level. Then, like we did with the 2 languages, you'll come back in 4th year and you will take 10 credits in the language, bringing it up to a really, really high level again. And we just concentrate on the language in 4th year, so very similar. And just in case you're wondering, when I talk about year 3, those Erasmus destinations, I'll very quickly give you a taste of where we might send people. We have links with all sorts of universities all over Europe, but the Italians go to Rome, Florence, Pisa, Urbino, Milan or Trento. The Spanish students might be sent to Madrid, Bilbao, Salamanca, Mexico, Argentina. The German students might choose to go to Berlin, Graz, Konstanz, Leipzig, Potsdam, or equally Vienna. And then the French students, we have links all over France, so to Paris, Geneva in Switzerland, Lyon, Bordeaux, Rennes, Arras, Besançon, or you might even go to Canada. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea. You don't actually choose the exact link, but they're the options that we have for our students, just to give you an idea. Thanks, Deirdre. So at this point, just to conclude, they were the slides, just to add in a few little observations before I hand back to Emma. Just to say, you will be wondering, because we don't offer French as a beginner's language, you're going to be saying, what level do I need to come in at? Essentially, we'll accept H5, but we do recommend that you come in with a H4 just to be comfortable. Okay. All the other languages you can do from scratch, so you don't need any prior experience. Deirdre also mentioned the outreach that is done within education. That's actually something we feel very strongly about too. And we often send our students out into classrooms to help. In some DESH schools, we have links that we go out and our students literally help the DESH students to learn. Some of them to prepare for the Leaving Cert, to prepare for particular exams. So we're also involved in schools through our language, not just through the education side of things. And if you've any questions after this, I'm absolutely delighted to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shifra, and thank you very much to all. Thank you very much to all our panelists this evening. So we've had a few questions in during the session, and I'd like to maybe put some of the questions to our panelists. So the first one is to you, Dee, just in terms of the school placements. Just typically, how many hours do students spend in their teaching, and what the placement entails? A little bit more detail. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, Emma. So our placement, I suppose, builds from year to year. So your first year, you will engage in placement in a primary school, and you'll work with the children and the teacher in the primary school on a project based around language. So you'll really be getting hands-on, engaging with the children, supporting the teacher, and learning a little bit more broadly about what it's like to be in a primary school. And placement will happen 1 day a week over 12 weeks in trimester 2 of year 1. Okay, so that's the first placement. Your second year placement is in a post-primary school classroom. Again, it'll happen over 1 day a week over 12 weeks over a trimester in trimester 1. And what that will involve is you going in and working with a language teacher in a classroom, observing the practice and engaging maybe in some co-teaching with that teacher as well. So that'll happen in year 2 of the program. In year 3 of the program, we don't have any official placement, school placement, but then we move into the more intensive school placement, which will happen in year 4 of the program. That will be a really intensive placement in schools, working as a teacher, teaching classes and leading in the language classes in the school. So that'll be really over trimester 1 and trimester 2. So it's a full year placement experience.
Thanks, Dee. And one question here that yourself or Shifra might be able to answer. So what happens if you start with Irish and one modern language, but you wish to drop the modern language? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think within the university we have you have a small window at the start of the program to try your modules, but you will have to make a decision pretty quickly around continuing with your language. I think you have maybe 2 or 3 weeks within which you can make that decision around whether you're going to continue with the language or not. So I think you will have to make that decision, but we'll be there as a team to help you in trying to decide what you're going to do. And equally, maybe, Shifra, would you have any suggestions around deciding which language to study?
Oh, that's a huge question. Certainly, I agree with you, Dee, about the window. Yeah, it's quite small, isn't it? It can be literally 2 weeks at the start of term. So it is a very small window in which to make a decision. Like Dee, I would say come talk to us, and certainly all of the students who come in next September, we will be talking to you. We want to hear from you. If you choose to do modern languages, come talk to us. We want to talk to every single one of you. We'll talk you through the options, what language might suit you best, why you might choose it, what the challenges are, and what the possibilities are for each language. I mean, it's a huge choice. Some of you will know immediately what languages you want to do. Some of you will just know straight out you only want to do Irish, and that's wonderful. And some of you will not be sure. Do you want to do 2 modern languages? Do you want to do Gaeilge and a modern language? It's a tricky decision, so come talk to us. We will be here in September. We'll be sitting there waiting for you, and we will talk this through. If that's something you haven't yet decided, we can maybe help. It can be a very personal choice, but sometimes it's based on your previous language experience. For example, some people who maybe, for example, have studied German in school might decide to take a Romance language, so might want something quite different. They might want to take something like Spanish, or even Italian. Maybe you want to, maybe you have a mainstream French or Spanish, and you might want to take a less mainstream offering to make yourself interesting, like Italian or German. So everything is, everything has pros and cons, and it's a very personal choice in the end of the day.
Also, I suppose it's important to say that we've actually built into the program as well an option to step out of the program after year 1. So if after year 1 you decide that you don't want to be a teacher, a post-primary teacher, and you actually just want to continue with studying languages, that there is a pathway to move into our program to study languages. So just to give you that information about it as well. Yeah. But the great thing about this degree, I suppose, is that you study languages, you still come out, you know, with your languages. You can still go and travel the world and do all sorts of jobs. But also you have that education qualification there for you into the future. So that's just important to say as well.
Absolutely, Dee. And just, I suppose, maybe for Shifra, just in terms of maybe some of the graduate programs or the postgraduate, can graduates go on to study, you know, an MA in modern languages with this degree, or applied linguistics? Just, I suppose, the graduate opportunities that are available.
Yeah, I mean, just from our point of view, from obviously Irish have their own graduate opportunities, and typically their Scríbhneogas Man Commerceoide na Gaeilge is a very popular MA course. Just on the Irish side of things, a lot of the Irish graduates take that and work in the EU and work across the media in Ireland. We have a similar MA actually starting up next year, which is in again languages with image studies. And again, these that we also have an MA in modern languages, and we have an MA in linguistics. And some of our students every year choose to stay with us and take those routes to specialize. Some of our students also want to be interpreters and translators. We've had a lot of people over the years moving to work in the EU, because as you'll all know, the EU is crying out for Irish speakers in particular, but also speakers of 2 languages. They always ask for 2 foreign languages. So this is ironically the perfect degree for somebody who wants to head to the EU, because you'd have, if you had Irish in a modern language or 2 modern languages, they'll be running to get you that to a high language standard. Obviously, that's of importance. We've had people go into all walks of life. Some people retrain and go into law. A lot of people become teachers traditionally, so this is the perfect cohort in a sense for us. Others go into all different business, especially international business. So there are lots of graduate possibilities, whether for you retrain after this or whether you just literally use this degree to go straight into a job. It's a very popular combination. Can I just say that employers always see somebody with a language, no matter what language it is, they always perceive people as having a kind of an added extra if they have language skills. Because as Dee said, if you're listening in tonight, it's probably because you're actually good at languages, or you have an interest in them, or something you want to pursue. And you will be surprised to hear that actually not everybody goes down that route, and not everybody has that talent. So it's actually a very niche area. And the very fact that you're listening in tonight is wonderful, because it sounds like you have that interest and perhaps you have that skill already, and it's something you can blossom into while you're studying here at UCD with us.
I'd also like to add to Shifa, if that's okay, that in the rationale for developing this course as well is that there's huge demand within the Irish education system for language teachers and for high quality language teachers in modern languages and in Gaeilge as well. So certainly schools are crying out for teachers in modern languages in Irish. So you certainly, there are jobs there for you as well.
We've also had a question, maybe Shifa, just in terms of the languages. So if students choose, can they choose another modern language as an elective after year 2 if they're studying? So maybe Irish and Spanish.
I'm afraid on this particular degree program, we're actually so jam-packed with education modules and language modules. We've put in the maximum we can put in so that we'll get our students up to a really high level across 2 languages, which is already a big ask. So I'm afraid on this particular degree program, we won't be able to offer a 3rd language. That's a whole other degree area that you'd have to look into. So no, I'm sorry about that. We can't facilitate electives in a 3rd language. If you want to do that, you have to go to a different degree.
Thanks. I've got a question as well, Dee, just in terms of the Gaeilge experience. Do students, is there a partnership with the University of Galway? Maybe you could.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we are, Erasmus Gaeltachta is in collaboration with our partners in the University of Galway, but it actually will happen down in the Gaeltacht there in Gararua. So you'll actually be out in the heart of the Gaeltacht, ag Fowlum na Gaeilge, so you won't necessarily be a Gahar na Gailge, but you'll be out in the Gaeltacht learning Irish. Yeah, and really embedded within that culture, which is absolutely brilliant. I'd love to be doing it myself.
Great, thank you very much, Dee. So if there's any more questions, please do type them into the Q&A, because we're nearly going to wrap up. So I suppose I'm going to hand over to our 3 panelists. Just to sum up in terms of why UCD, why you should choose this course on your CAO form next year. So maybe if I can come to the Billy, to the head of school, just to sum up today why this excellent degree option for students.
Yeah, absolutely, Emma. Thank you. I think this is a great program being delivered in a great university at a great time in the Irish education system. I'm very thankful to the people for joining us this evening to hear about it. We really would love to welcome to the campus next year. In the meantime, I want to wish them the very best in their leaving certificate.
Thanks, Billy. Shifa, if you'd like to just a final words just in terms of the programme.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we're so excited to work with the School of Education on this, primarily because a lot of our students in the past would have spent 3, maybe 4 years doing modern languages, and then they would have done a postgrad for 2 years. That's a long time and a very expensive degree program, whereas here we've a very intensive offering where you can do it all at once. It is a big ask, but it's a very exciting program. And I think it's marvelous that it's available now at undergraduate level. So we're really excited to be part of it. And if you're here tonight, it's because you like languages. So whether you choose Irish or us in Irish or 2 of our modern languages, you'll love it. This will be a great program to take.
Today, I suppose, and just to conclude for myself, we are so excited about this program. It has been a few years in development. We've really put language learning at the heart of this program and your experience as language learner, particularly around Erasmus. We've built the program around that. And we're really excited about some of the innovative approaches we're taking in the education stream, in particular around placement and placing you at primary school as well as at post-primary school, and bringing in new modules that are really modern and aligning to some of our goals around sustainability and being able to respond to different issues that arise in education. And I suppose to finish, to say what a privilege it is to work in education, to work with young people, to really influence young people's lives and to make a real difference. Oftentimes you hear people talk about the one good adult. You might all be thinking about a one good adult who has had a profound impact on your life. And you can be that one good adult in a young person's life. And what a better way to do that than through a language. So thank you very much.